Are you looking for a stripper? A stripper that really gets it off? Cooper's, the stripper that gets it off every time. No sanding, so easy. None of that toxic, messy dust floating around. What we're doing today is stripping the top half of this Jacobean chair. It's a style of the Jacobeans, and it's well known for these, what they call the barley twist. So we're spraying on the stripper there. This is the red one. And you'll see in these parts here how it absorbs in rather rapidly. The stripper goes onto the varnish and then very, very quickly absorbs into it. You always keep your trigger moving in a spray movement pattern, that way it doesn't drip everywhere. Spraying is a very quick way of putting the product on. Alright, how far down is that? Any dry patches anywhere there, George?
Not really.
We're all good to go. So this chair was originally finished with shellac. Somewhere along its life, someone put this brown tinted varnish over the top, which blotted off all the grain completely. So just lightly drag that off. These type of varnishes just dissolve. We get a torch out, shall we?
Okay.
Look at that, guys. This is very, very soft copper, so it's not going to damage. This brush is perfect for carvings. The whole thing with our system is about no sanding. The idea of no sanding is that the person that made this sanded it for us, and we're just going to reuse their old sanding. This is the cane, rattan cane, and the stripper will do no damage to that either. So we're just stroking that off with the copper brush. So George is going to re-wet up those bits. You can see the benefit of the spraying, just the quick ease, is doing light mounts. So the barley twists, how would you do those? Well, what we do is we cut our wool a little longer. We use it like a rope. This is a bit of a ooh and an ah. This doesn't lose the patina of the timber. The patina is Italian for pretty dirt. You'll see in the background we've got plastic on the walls. Yeah. So if you're setting up the garage for a bit of restoring, we've got these masking plastics that you can protect anything else. Now we're going to get into the grain itself. So these parts here, you've got to keep an eye on, and if it looks like it's dried out a bit, it's just that it's absorbed in deeper. So one of our tips is to always keep the surface wet. The timber is oak, which is pretty normal for these Jacobean pieces. Because our stripper is virtually pH neutral, it doesn't bleach the timber, so there's no damage or furring or anything like that, so we're not creating any damage there. imagine how long this would take to sand, getting all those bits. I could normally get a chair like this done in around about an hour. And when you think of what it would be with Sandy being there for days. The stain in there is popped to the surface, which is ideal to get rid of all that. A squeaky table. I have to invest in some oil. Spraying the flusher on, and then we're scrubbing it, spraying it again, wiping and drying. This is not a neutralizer. A lot of people see our flusher as a neutralizer, and it's not. It's there to dilute the residues of both paint and varnish, as well as any leftover stripper, and it liquefies it so that you can take it off with a cloth. Something to be aware of too is this colour through here, this wet colour. That is the colour it would be if you were to now put a new finish on. We say the wet look is the finish look. It's a real good chance to have a look at what you've achieved. This is oak at its best when it turns into what I think is caramel. When you are doing the first part of the job, it's all this dark toffee stuff that will stain your gloves, and then later on when you're doing these final parts, that can migrate onto the job. So what George has done is put a clean set of gloves on so that he's not going to spread the original stuff around. So basically what George is doing there is he's liquefied residues, and then the rag just takes it off, and by doing that you don't have to worry about getting the sander out. No dust. Now, that's now ready for any finish. We have a finish called Moisturiser. There we go. There's that handsome chap on there, amazing what Photoshop can do. This is a finish we've made for, I don't know, about 30 odd years now. And it's a blend of gum, oil and wax, incredibly easy to use. And it's a little bit, think of it like leather care for wood. You don't have to wait for every last little bit of flusher to evaporate out. If you were clear finishing it with polyurethane or something, you would need to leave it till tomorrow before you do it. With this, you can strip flush and straight on with the moisturiser. And you don't have to be good with a brush. It doesn't matter how hot or cold it is. Humidity doesn't matter. You just slap this on, and again, don't worry about dust. If you're doing joinery or something and there's people in the house doing sanding or other stuff on plastering or anything like that, it doesn't matter. You can be finishing this with the moisturiser without any issues at all. None of the ingredients mix with water, so it's water repellent. So it doesn't. This is not going to dry this product. It's going to stay wet, but we don't leave it greasy. But we put this on, and it drinks into the timber, just absorbs in, and there'll be parts that are really thirsty compared to parts that aren't. And so you can expect it to be thirsty, especially after all these years as well. So give it all it can take, just slap it on. This is also a completely non-toxic product. It doesn't taste very nice. This moisturiser is amazing. So we leave it, it drinks, we come back tomorrow, we check on all these end grains. You can expect to have to put more on there. You don't have to wait till tomorrow, you can come back in an hour's time and do it. And when we believe that it's not absorbing anymore after that couple of days, you could leave it a couple of weeks if you wanted, but it doesn't matter if dust gets on it. But when you think it's had enough and it's not drinking anymore because that wet, greasy look stays, now you get yourself a dry cloth and you remove and buff what's the surface. And this is your finish. This is not a pre-treatment for polyurethane or something, this is the finish. So this gives you what we call a mellow glow, and this is where you've captured all the patina of the age, and so you're not turning an antique into something that's no longer an antique. This keeps all its little dings and dongs, all its history. So it's just this burnishing part. This part's pretty fast. It's not like polishing beeswax. Okay, let's put them down on the floor. So a picture tells 1,000 words. If you're looking for a stripper,
The stripper that gets it off?
really gets it off.
It really gets it
Cooper's, the stripper that gets it off
every time.